Hello, so here's a quick video seeing videos by James Griffiths and John the 6-inch Pianist with a bit of inspiration. An album for every year from 1970 to 1980. I was just going through this morning and it's quite difficult because some years there's loads of albums, some years there's hardly any. So, well, let's see how we did. Let's get on with it. To start with, 1970. This is the Gene Chandler Situation, Gene Chandler. It's quite a nice album, this. It's kind of like a pop album more than anything. But the two great songs at the beginning here that I really like, Groovy Situation, which I think has been done by lots of other people. I'm not sure, in fact, that that's the original. And Simply Call It Love, which I really like as well. It's a really sort of over-the-top, fancy song, but it's got a real swing to it, really nice. And the sound is really great, arranged by Tom Tom. He's always a good name to check out. So yeah, that's a good one for 1970. Now 1971, I could have chosen any year for this guy really, but I couldn't find anything else for 1971 that seemed to go. So Al Green, stick to the classics, I say. This is a wonderful album. It has many other wonderful albums from the period as well. But what have we got here? We've got Let's Stay Together, obviously. Never Found a Girl. So You're Leaving. Ain't no, this is all just on one side. Ain't no fun to me. Old Time Loving. Wow. How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? The famous one that lots of people love. So brilliant. All of the stuff from Al from that period is fantastic. That's probably one of his greatest. 72. Here's a nice one. Just been recently re-released. The Lost Generation. Now I had a 7-inch I think that I showed from the Lost Generation before. This is an album that's just been released by Demon Records. They've re-released loads of great sort of late 60s, early 70s soul records in the last few months. And this is a great one. They're a vocal harmony group with a kind of street swagger to them. And the voices have got that kind of slightly cracked, grisly edge to them, which you don't usually find with some of the more sweeter soul sounds, but this is a really nice one. The title track, The Young, the Tough and the Terrible, is really nice. And there's This Is the Lost Generation, like a sort of theme song, really nice. And there's some covers here as well. Tired of Being Alone gets the treatment. Thin Line Between Love and Hate, really nice record. Definitely recommend that one. That's 72, right? 73. Ooh, Mandrill, great album. This one. I thought it had Fence Walk on, but that's on another one. But Mango Meat, Fat City Strut, great stuff going on here. It's got the funky stuff, it's got that clean, kind of lots of space in the sound, which is really nice. That slightly Latin rock fusion feel that they had. Brilliant stuff. Very funky cover as well. 74 now? 74. Sweet Charles, sweet music for sweet people. This is Charles Sherrill, who was a sideman of James Brown, and released this album. And I don't know if much else is known about him, to be honest, but it's got some great stuff on it. A really nice version of Soul Man, the Sam and Dave classic, done in a totally different way. Really nice. Really good, really funky. Lots of amusing little interludes between the songs as well. And I think Yes It's You, one of the classic songs. This is a reissue from the late 80s, which came out in the UK. I should think the original is very hard to get, but great album. That's 1974. Now 75 was almost impossible. I had so many to choose from. Seemingly all the records in my collection come from 74 and 75 and 76. But I was thinking there's a bit too many men, so let's go with Minnie, because she is one of the stellar soul voices of the time. And this is a great album. The two standouts, I think, Baby All This Love I Have, Adventures in Paradise. I really like Inside My Love's on here as well. Really nice. Great cover as well. Really love that one. So yeah, Minnie Riperton. I mean, what can you say? She's amazing. I was actually going to show that one for 75, but I changed my mind. John Lucian, great. His singing style, perhaps not to everybody's taste. But there's some great stuff on here. But no, that was 75 as well. Let's stick with Minnie Riperton. 76. I chose this album. Again, I had loads to choose from. I chose this one because it's got one of my all-time favourite feel-good songs. and need cheering up right now. So this is Side Effect, and the album is called What You Need, from 1976. And the song that I love, Keep That Same Old Feeling, always gives me a warm glow inside whenever I hear that. So definitely my recommendation there. 77. Here's a nice one. Again, this is a reissue from a few years ago on Be With Records. This is Edna Wright, Oops, Here I Go Again. Really nice record this, produced by Greg Perry. And you can tell a lot of the songs have that Greg Perry sound if you're familiar with his other stuff that he's done. The title song is a really nice, famous song, very popular, I think, on the sort of rare groove scene. But there's some really great stuff here as well. And I have to say, this reissue that they've done is really superb. I'm not a sort of person who complains about the sound quality of things, as some people seem to love doing. But you really notice it's got a really nice bass sound, which really reverberates, and really enjoyed that. So great record, nice to have. That was 77. Right, 78 and 79 I found really difficult. I was looking and looking and looking, and of the actual records I have, I couldn't find that many here. I'm sure there were lots of great records released then. I have a feeling Marvin Gaye, Here My Dear, is 78, but I don't have that on vinyl. So I had to cheat a bit, and I've gone for a Latin record. This is Siembra by Ruben Blades and Willie Colon. Ruben Blades, I think he prefers to be called Ruben Blades. Now, this is one of those records which the gatekeepers of musical taste have decided is the best Latin record of all time. I think it's a great record. I don't know if it's the best of all time. It's not my favourite, I wouldn't say. But in the same way that you have to say that What's Going On or Sgt. Pepper is the best album of all time because people say it is, it might not be your favourite. But it is a good record all the same. Why? Well, the two standout songs here are Plastico, which is a great, starts with a nice disco introduction before it gets into its salsa thing, and Pedro Navaja, which is like a sort of Latin New York version of Mac the Knife in the 1970s, and it is really great. The problem is, obviously, for a lot of people, is the lyrics, because the best thing about this album is the lyrics, because you got this man, Ruben Blades, or Blades, and he's you know, if you want a comparison, maybe somebody like Bob Dylan or something like that. I mean, he's got the lyrics, and he tells amazing stories in all of his songs. So the lyrics to both those two are really nice. Plastico is kind of like a sort of rejection of this more consumerist values that were coming in that time in the late 70s. And Pedro Navaja is just great storytelling. But yeah, it's a great record. If you can't quite get the lyrics, perhaps it doesn't have the same appeal, but really nice. 79 was a bit of a stretch as well, so I opted for this one. It's a Brazilian record, a Brazilian funk and disco record, and it's pretty nice. This was a reissue from the early 2000s, I think, but originally came out in 79. This is Copa 7, or Copa Sete, I think they're called in Portuguese. There's two volumes of this. The first volume, this one, came out in 79, and it's just nice, funky, kind of disco-y, with a slightly samba-y thing going on as well. Really nice. They have actually got a 7-inch, which has obviously cost thousands of pounds, but I'm sure somebody's probably re-released it, which is really good, which isn't on any of their albums. But this is a nice sort of little thing to go on, something different. It doesn't all have to be in English, so brilliant. Nearly got to the end. 1980 then. I have shown this record before, but you can't really do the 70s. I mean, I feel bad enough not showing a Marvin Gaye record, but I've got to get a Curtis record in there as well. The Forgotten Curtis Mayfield album. Obviously, there's all the classics to begin with, and then in the sort of mid-70s, he starts getting a bit more patchy, and the records aren't so great. But this one, in 1980, just about holds it all together as a consistent, brilliant record, and the brilliant bits are really, really brilliant. I think I said before, the hipster's choice of Curtis Mayfield records, and I stand by that. But that's not a bad thing. It is great, and I think the two songs that I always find myself coming back to, Tripping Out and Never Stop Loving Me. But definitely a record worth checking out. And people don't think of Curtis in the 1980s. Well, there you go. There it is. Anyway, there they are. 11 records, 11 years. A pleasure.